people have a special gift for sharing their food traditions. We're on a mission to showcase those people who bring their communities together through food. These everyday people are often at the heart of communities, the unsung heroes who help others out of kindness and look for nothing in return. We're going to meet these people, cook with them, and see who benefits from their love of cooking. I'm Andrea Tarr. Please join me as we explore the secret kitchens of New Jersey. Okay, so welcome to the kitchen, and today it's all about pumpkin bread and pumpkin latte. So I think some people think of pumpkin only for Thanksgiving. But Rachel, to me pumpkin is all year long. And I've been baking this pumpkin bread that we're going to do today for, I don't know, about 7 or 8 years.
Oh, that's
a long time, and it's kind of like my signature pumpkin bread. So today I'm revealing my secrets.
Excellent. I can't wait. I love to eat it, so I really want to know how to make
I've shared it with a lot of people. So, all right, so we're going to start with wet ingredients. So we have, now this, let me just say that this is...
We're going to do dry ingredients now then.
Sugar goes in the wet here. So this is going to make enough pumpkin bread for either 10 mini loaves or like about 2 dozen, 2 dozen muffins, or if you have like bigger loaf pans, maybe 3 or 4 of those.
Okay.
So I added in the brown sugar. I'm going to add in 4 eggs.
Now you're using dark brown or light brown sugar?
I'm using dark brown, and I just, you can use white sugar if you want to, but I just kind of like the depth of flavor that you get from the brown sugar.
I would agree, absolutely.
And now I'm going to add a cup of oil, any neutral oil. It's not going to change the flavor. Looks like a lot of ingredients, and it is, but it's going to make a lot of pumpkin bread. I'm going to give this a little mix right now just to kind of break up the lumps that might be in the sugar. Okay, so of course the next ingredient is going to be pumpkin. Now I'm using canned pumpkin. This is an entire, by the way, the whole recipe in its entirety will be on our website. And I'm using canned pumpkin. But Rachel, some people might want to use fresh pumpkin. So how does that really work? I've never worked with fresh pumpkin.
Well, fresh pumpkin is really great. Winter squash, it's available in the fall. You can usually get them into the winter as well. Or you could, I like to take one and roast it in the fall, and then you could, puree it and you could put it in the freezer.
That sounds good.
So it's similar to the canned product, but you can do it with something that's from your local farm or farmer's market.
And it doesn't sound like it's any big deal, any difficulty.
It's not a big deal at all. You take it, I like to cut it in half, take out the seeds, put a little bit of, maybe oil, put it on a roasting pan, put it in the oven. It takes about 35-40 minutes until it's fork tender. Let it cool, scoop out the flesh, and
there you
just run it through a food processor, and then you have a nice smooth puree, and you can make pies with it, you can make breads, you can make latte, you can make curry with it. There's a lot of different things you could do with pumpkin, sweet and savory, so it's one of my favorite, winter, fall ingredients to use especially. And of course we're also today, in honor of all things pumpkin, you're going to make a pumpkin latte for us. We'll do that later too. So my last wet ingredient, for me, it's kind of like my secret ingredient. This is where, this is the part that I've not shared with anyone. I am using an entire can of crushed pineapple and all the juice. And the whole thing goes in there. I'm not using any other liquid. Here, take that please. And just give this a stir. And I'm gonna let you put this right here. Okay, so the dry ingredients, this is your, your typical dry ingredients. I have 4 cups of flour, and, oh Rachel, you know what, we are going to use some toasted nuts. I always think it's great when you toast the nuts. And you need about a cup or a little more, so maybe you could chop these for me?
Sure, absolutely.
All right, then we've got some salt, and we've got some baking soda. Let me just put those right in there. And we have cinnamon and we have ginger. And I'm using about 2 tablespoons of cinnamon. I really like cinnamon. You can use more or less, but about maybe a tablespoon of ginger. Again, more or less depending on what you like. And I like the spiciness of the cinnamon, so I like to use a lot of that, Rachel. So I'm going to stir these a little bit. It doesn't take long, obviously. Rachel's getting the nuts chopped up for us. Now the other thing is I'm adding about a cup of raisins. use a little more or less. You know what? You don't have raisins and you want to use craisins, that works. If you don't want to use raisins, you don't even have to do that. And then of course you really, to make this My Secret Kitchen's over the top pumpkin bread, you have to add chocolate chips.
Do you use semi-sweet, bittersweet?
These are semi-sweet, but you know what? I think you could use anything you want, and you know, honestly, what doesn't chocolate improve? Chocolate improves everything.
Does make life better.
It does make life better. Even, and who knew that it would be so good with pumpkin bread? Okay.
These nuts are ready to go in.
Excellent. So you know what? If you would, just pour them right into there. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So we have nuts, raisins, and chocolate chips. I mean, seriously, how delicious is that? Let me get my wet ingredients. It's a little bit messy. It's making, we have a lot of ingredients here. Okay. And I'm just going to pour this right in right now.
That's a lot of batter.
Yes, that's a lot of batter, but we're feeding small armies. You know, it freezes beautifully. That's the point. When you make a lot of it, freeze it. It freezes really well.
And then it makes a great impromptu gift, or
Yes.
if somebody pops over for dinner or something, you have something ready to go.
Exactly, and that's one of the reasons that I do like to freeze it, because it's such a great house gift to bring to people. And you know, everywhere I go, pumpkin bread is not far behind.
Well, I know that when I had my book release party, you
That's right.
brought some pumpkin bread
Of
for me
course,
as a gift
of
to my
course.
book release, and I ate the whole loaf that night.
Yeah, that happens a lot. But fortunately, they're mini loaves, so how much damage can you really do?
Share a little bit, but not much.
I don't know. So this is a very thick batter, and we're just going to give it, you know, you want to get it really well incorporated. There's no shortcut to this. You just got to give it, you know, about 150 mixes, I guess, by hand. And
this is a nice kind of old-fashioned recipe. It's not a lot of equipment. You don't need to get out the KitchenAid. You don't need a blender of any kind. You just need a bowl and a spoon.
Right. It really is easy. It's not a big deal. And you can cut the recipe in half if you don't want to make enough for an army like we're doing. It's all good. It's all good.
And since it's a quick bread, it's a little forgiving. Doesn't matter if
That's
you
right.
have a little bit of lumps in it. You know, it's everything is incorporated, and it doesn't have to be super smooth. It just needs to be
There we go.
incorporated nicely.
Okay.
Would you like me to get the pans?
Yes, please. Okay. So we're going to get these. I told you I'm making 10 little mini pans, but you can do whatever you want with this batter. And you might have to adjust the cooking time a little bit. It's going into a 350 oven. And what I generally use is, I have this super duper. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment. This all-clad holds 6 ounces. And I will start scooping some of this in. And again, it's very, very thick. It's a little messy to work with, but I assure you it's totally, totally worthwhile. So let me get one in here. We'll do another one. Fill it about, I don't know, a little more than halfway, I'll say. They're not going to rise tremendously, but you are going to wind up with really nice little loaves of pumpkin bread
Now,
here.
do you want them to be kind of pushed into the corners a little bit and smooth?
You know what I do? When I get everything done, I kind of give the tray a little bit of a shake, so I kind of get it all settled in.
Shimmy?
Exactly, a little shimmy there. So you know what? We're going to just take a moment and we're going to fill out these tins, and we're going to get them in the oven. While they're baking, Rachel is going to make for us some pumpkin latte. Okay, so the pumpkin bread is in the oven and it's got a little ways to go, but while we're waiting, Rachel is going to show us how to do a pumpkin latte.
Pumpkin lattes are so popular and people love them, but there's really no reason why you can't make them at home.
Yeah.
And probably make it to taste even more delicious at home and much more inexpensive than at the store.
Way more inexpensive than at the store.
And I wanted to do this today because when you're cooking with the canned pumpkin, a lot of times you have a little bit extra and you don't know what to do with it, and I don't want you to waste it. So we're going to use some leftover canned pumpkin from a previous recipe and some spices. So there's some things here that are whole spices, cinnamon sticks, some allspice, and some cloves. I actually got out my spice grinder and ground them fresh to do this recipe.
Smelling very delicious
here. You
here.
could certainly use just the ground spices that you have in your pantry as well. So we have a 1 tablespoon of ground cinnamon. I'm going to mix this all up really quickly. 1 teaspoon of cloves that I ground this morning, and it just smells so much better than when you take it out of the pantry when it's already ground.
And Rachel, let me just remind everyone, this recipe will be on the website with the pumpkin bread. So it's a complete day of pumpkin.
Complete day of pumpkin secrets. We have a little bit of ground nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of allspice. That's one of my favorite spices. And a little bit of ginger as well, another teaspoon.
Wow.
Okay? So it's 1 tablespoon of the cinnamon and a teaspoon of all the others. Just gonna give it a quick little mix together with my little secret weapon mini whisk here.
A mini whisk.
The mini whisk. And
oh, Rachel, it smells.
it smells great, right? Much better than when you open up a new container of
smells delicious.
pumpkin spice from the supermarket. So Andrea, if you could do me a favor and put a tablespoon of sugar into each glass. We're going to be using granulated sugar today. You could also use raw Demerara sugar, or you could use honey, the sweetener of your choice. So whichever sweetener floats your boat, go for it.
There you go.
We're also going to put a teaspoon of the spice mixture in there.
Teaspoon, okay.
A teaspoon is just the right amount to get the flavor. And this obviously is something that you can mix up in advance and hold on to.
Right.
So how long will that last once you have it mixed up?
This is going to make you about 6 portions.
Okay.
So that probably by the time you use up the pumpkin that's in the cabinet, you probably will need to make another batch.
And then we're going to take 2 tablespoons of the pumpkin per cup.
2 tablespoons, okay. So this is the,
Just going to plop it in there.
yeah. It's a little messy going in.
It's all going to get mixed up.
Doesn't look delicious right now, but as soon as you add the coffee to it,
and the pumpkin has a lot of great health benefits.
Yes, it does.
Helps reduce cholesterol, which is something I'm working on personally this year. It's got great
Can I just put that
vitamin A, vitamin E, C, minerals. So it's got a lot going for it. It's low in fat.
There's no reason to only eat pumpkin at Thanksgiving. That's really another thing. I think it's delicious enough to have anytime. So you're giving it another little whisk.
I'm just going to give it a little stir here to kind of incorporate the spices with the pumpkin. And then I'm going to
it smells just really
have,
wonderful.
Some coffee that's brewed coffee.
You use drip or espresso. So we're going to have about 1/3 of a cup. The typical latte ratio is about 1/3 of the coffee to 2/3 of the milk.
Okay.
So you want to go ahead and mix that up.
I like this little mini whisker.
I love little whisk. I love to make vinaigrettes with that little whisk. Okay. An even amount.
And let me give this a little whisk.
And this is my milk frother, which if you happen to start really getting into liking lattes,
it's worth the investment because you heat the milk up in here.
You gotta have a frother.
You get a little pumps going on.
All right. These are good to go.
And then we're going to pour out.
So I can reach them both. Pour in some of your.
Let me hold that still so it doesn't fly away. Oh God, the color on this is so gorgeous.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't have to wait in line to get this. You can make it in your pajamas.
In your pajamas, you hear that?
And we're going to go ahead and give that another little stir around.
All right. This is looking wonderful. Oh my gosh.
And the pumpkin bread is smelling awesome in the oven right now.
Yes, pumpkin bread is smelling delicious.
And I think that sometimes you can get a little bit of extra fluffy froth off the top. We'll put a little extra onto each portion. Whoop.
Whoa, runaway
It's like
froth.
Bubbles. There we go. And if you want, another pinch of your spice.
Oh, right on the top.
Right on the top, there's a little bit of garnish.
Okay.
And that's
Beautiful.
it, easy.
These look delicious. I can't wait to try them. Meanwhile, the pumpkin bread is just about done. We're going to get the pumpkin bread out of the oven, and you know what that means. It's time for tasting.